2, 1, 0.
Dyer wave. The scientific method cannot justify the scientific method. Therefore, it itself is a dogmatic religious presupposition. Brzezinski model, the technocrat model, is much more interested in the incremental, slow kill, Fabian approach to bringing technocracy into being. So they're not going to send Homeland Security troops to round you up and put you in a FEMA camp. They'd much rather promote everybody being enmeshed in video games, the Disney gulag, the virtual reality gulag, all this kind of stuff is a much better FEMA camp in your home. They don't need the FEMA camp. It's too messy. It's a big ordeal. And so all the nonsense of all the patriot crap on the radio, that's not going to happen. They don't need to. The shadow global government is already here. And as we said, it's in the latter stages of the mopping up process to move it into the next phase, i.e. between two ages of the next age. Once you have atheism, there's not really any foundation. Anything can come and go.
All right, we back. Can you hear me? Gonna do our audio checks. Audio check. Audio check. Let the chat catch up. It's Val night. Val night.
Throughout the course of philosophy,
lick it up. Lick it up. Lick it up.
Anthropology,
That doesn't have anything to do with Val.
Kind of a revealed framework that we're going to talk
But I was
about.
in Spencer's Gifts, you know,
What
that
get is
enlightened mall
basically
store
disaster, and you get things like
for
reductions
your
to
Tesla
materials and so forth
electrical
that
ball
ultimately
and
wipe out
dildo
the notion of
fetishes.
what it is to be a human person. And when there's no notion of a human person,
And they were
then
playing,
things
"Lick
like
it
free
up,
will, volition,
lick
these all
it
fall
up."
away by the wayside because they're ultimately illusory. If the world is a
Anyway.
determined materialistic process, then free will
Welcome
is
to the
volition
Val
and
stream.
consciousness.
I look like Val in Real Genius right now. Now, Real Genius isn't on tonight's list. Make sure I can be heard. Can you hear me? Is the volume good? Okay, good. Every time I sit down to do these streams, my allergies go crazy. It's the spirits. Yeah. So, in Real Genius, by the way, if you don't remember, Real Genius is actually about DARPA. Did you know that? It sure is. It's a really goofy movie, but it is insightful. It does contain relevant information for our purposes. I cleaned my serial killer shades just for this. Oh, they're all smudgy. That's not the right one. We're not doing Real Genius. Yeah. I do want to touch on Real Genius just because this is kind of the beginning of Val. And Val is the genius. And the team of kids around him are sort of the rebellious revolutionary types, and they overthrow the DARPA system, if you recall, from within. Spoiler alert, it's about the directed energy weapons, which of course is a big deal.
Can you hear me, nerds?
It's a real thing. It's been around for many, many decades. It was in a lot of movies. We've covered that in old talks we've done. It was in the Bond stuff a long time ago, if you recall. Man with the Golden Gun with Christopher Lee as Fantasy Island, basically. It's weird because if you watch Man with the Golden Gun, they mix Fantasy Island with James Bond, one of the Roger Moores. And it has tattoo with Christopher Lee on the island, and the gun is a giant directed energy weapon. I covered this in my old 2015 talk. If you haven't watched that, I posted it this week. Go back and watch that. We cover all that. But anyway, so Val is in Real Genius about directed energy weapons, which is not obvious if you don't recall, if you don't remember this movie. But they're recruited. They're recruited at, what is it, like MIT or something, I think. And they recruit the, smart, nerdy guys. And they realize that they're being used as tools to develop microwave electronic DEW weaponry for DARPA. And so what do? Well, they utilize this technology. They hack the drones. The drone, by the way. And they cook a giant tub of popcorn in their director's new renovated house, and the whole house fills with popcorn and pops the place, which is kind of funny. Really wacky idea, and I appreciate the wackiness of that idea. I'll lower the music. I forgot the music's still going. Anyway, yeah, let's get the Dyer wave out of here. But thank you guys. Welcome. It's glad to be back in the command center, the situation room, the Jason Analysis Studios, doing what we like to do, analyze movies. And we've gone for almost 3 weeks because of Hurricane Dorkian, whatever it was. But we're back. Back like Charles in Charge, back like Scott Baio. Yes, the internet is a DARPA invention. In fact, the internet was called ARPANET which was DARPANet. The internet is DARPA. Thank you there, Ben Jolly, for that super chat. I was aware of that. In fact, I got a interesting subscriber this week. I don't know if that's the same person, but possibly, and that's possible. I mean, we've had a lot of shares from our beloved Guttermain. Shout out Guttermain for all them shares. What's up? You know what's up. Derp, and that. Anyway, so we're back in town. We're back to the normal stuff. Back to Real Genius. If you don't recall, go watch Real Genius, because that's what it's about. And you'll see that I'm right. All right, so first up tonight, and thank you all for joining me. This is Jay Dyer from Jay's Analysis. You're watching this week's Esoteric Hollywood. No, the new show doesn't have a name. I don't know what it's called. Movies. Analyzing movies. Queer bait for queer tards. Gaylords Anonymous. I'm just using the terms that I think are funny. I'm not hating anyone. There's no hate in this household. This is a hate-free household. You can support, of course, with your super chats. And we've got quite a few new YouTube members. Thank you to all the people that have joined on the channel directly. Tomorrow, at least, the part 2 that was delayed for leaving due to Hurricane Dorian of the Aquinas stream will be up tomorrow. I intended to have that done today, but I didn't get to it because we do have this show. And then right after this, of course, Boiler Room tonight. There will always be the beloved Boiler Room on Thursday night. So part 2 of the Aquinas stream, critiquing the 5 ways of Aquinas, will finally be distributed tomorrow to the Jay's Analysis subscribers. Other questions, by the way, the YouTube joining membership stuff is not the new way to do it. It's no different than the website. I just had to do it a certain way. So we want to get that out of the way. And if you would, be sure and support and share the show, because the changes in the YouTube algorithm have affected everybody, not just myself, KJ, many other people experiencing the same difficulties. We had a completely flat growth rate. Never had that. My channel has grown consistently for the last 3 years, nonstop, every day, virtually every day in the green. And of course, as you know, they have changed the sub button now to where it doesn't read the full subs. It reads this kind of abbreviated thing, and they did that for many reasons, dealing with wanting to make sure that people use the analytics of YouTube and not going to Social Blade. That's part of the reason, at least as far as I understand. But what it's done is apparently shifted things, and as you've noticed, every time my channel starts to grow up to about 10 to 20,000 views per video, immediately I get knocked back down to 4,000 views per video. It happens without fail. It's happened for 2 years, in fact. So I can even grow in subscribership. I've grown from 3,000 subscribers 3 years ago to 43,000 subscribers now. And for the last 2 years, it's a consistent pattern of the average video growth rises up to 10 to 20,000, and then suddenly it drops back down to 4. So as you can see, all the videos this last week, for the most part, except for 1 or 2, hover at 4. Also, I do and have always done goofy, silly, satirical videos. The first videos I uploaded were goofy and satirical videos. So if you're new to the channel and you're surprised by that, and you're like, what is this autistic madness that you're posting? I've always posted that autistic madness. So do not be shocked. Don't send me messages about how you don't understand the content. There's always been content that was serious, goofy, movies, philosophy, all of it. It's always, we've been here for 10 years doing the same types of stuff. Don't be shocked. Don't wet your adult diapers. Be sure and have adult diapers, but don't wet your adult diapers. Anyway, So, of course, you can support the show with Super Chat, support by joining on YouTube if you want to join on YouTube, or you can go to Jay's Analysis and subscribe there through PayPal, credit card, etc., etc. Also buy the books, Historic Hollywood 1 and 2. All right, let's talk about I Can't Control Who, by the way, debates. I Can't Control Who debates. What a wicked thing to do. Made me dream of you and I. So people are asking requests. Somebody said, do wicked game. What a wicked thing to do. Made me dream of you and I. So there you go. There's my wicked game by Chris Ballsack. We love our Chris Ballsack around here. And what was I about to say? Something about, everybody always asks, why don't you debate XYZ? Debate James White. I've already offered to debate James White, and he declined because he doesn't have time to research orthodoxy. I offered to debate many times Dr. Taylor Marshall, and every day somebody says, debate Taylor Marshall. I've offered and he blocked me. So there you go. By the way, he knows that he would not win that debate. So it's easier to just not deal with that. And by the way, he can't just say, oh, which he could have said 3 years ago when I went to debate. Who are you? Nobody knows you. You have 2,000 subscribers on YouTube, 3,000. I don't have to pay. Oh, now you got 43. Oh, well, maybe. Nope, I'm not debating those people. By the way, we're vindicated this week, too, because a big article at Ortho Christian comes out pointing out the schismatics amongst the Russian, the Rokor. Rokor A, not Rokor, but Roka A, which is a schism that opposed reunion with Moscow. As I said many years ago, that was obviously being fueled by the CIA. And now many other people have noticed this. It was obvious. Of course it was. So that came out this week. That was a vindication thing that I forgot to mention. Debate Eddie Murphy. Okay. I would debate Eddie Murphy. Debate your dad. I already debated your dad when I was with your mom. Oh, zing. So Taylor Marshall said no. He's not going to debate. James White's not going to debate. Stefan Molyneux's not going to debate. You might as well just give up on telling these people to debate. I mean, I understand, Matt Dillahunty debated, so it seems plausible that, but that was actually, a lot of people had messaged, other people set that up. Shout out to Lewis for that, setting that up. So, can't control who will be willing to debate because most people are not willing to debate. Okay, so let's get into the movies. Enough of this B shite. Yeah, I can't. Sorry, dude. If you are spamming a bunch of stuff, you get muted. I can't control that. Zing, zing, zing. Yeah, it would be cool to, and even if these people don't want, it doesn't have to be a debate. We can have a chat, discussion. I don't care. I'll do whatever. Oh, but we do have some good talks coming up. We got one of our French ortho bros this weekend, Snack. I think Snack's going to come on. Jean McLean, I think, is busy. He's going to be debating. But the French ortho bros have been digging up some based material on the papacy, dog. So we're going to be talking about weird medieval practices, weird spiritual practices in Romanism, mortification, blah, blah, blah. How it differs from the Orthodox doctrine of we're body positive here. We're body positive around the Orthodox world. Doesn't mean we don't mortify the flesh. We don't fat accept the flesh. We bring it into subjection, but not through mortification. Mortification is the weirdo Roman Catholic practice. It's a manifestation of prelest. So we'll be talking about prelest crazy practices in the Roman world. That will be our By the way, I look kind of like Ed Warren. You know, like the Patrick Wilson character in the Annabelle series. With these glasses, I feel like Ed Warren. Jamie could be Lorraine Warren. Ed and Lorraine Warren. I got a giant room on the side of the condo that's filled up with possessed objects. Little possessed Barbie dolls running around. Remember that movie Toy Soldiers? If you go in the room over there in my condo, it's my extra bedroom. It's like toy. So I got a little lock on there. Keep the toy soldiers out. Cause it's just like Toy Story in that room, but the hell version of Toy Story, where it's just little demon toy soldiers going crazy. Cause I'm Patrick Wilson. Do I look like Patrick Wilson with these glasses? You know what I'm talking about, right? Y'all know who Patrick Wilson is, right? All you young guys are always saying, do the anime, do the anime. I'm from the 90s, bro. We didn't have no anime in the 90s. Well, Ghost in the Shell, which I did watch in the 90s. And that's when the Miyo Hayasaki videos started coming out. And I did watch those, you know, Spirited Away, Howl's Moving Castle, excuse me. And I liked the Miyo Hayazaki stuff. Okay. But I haven't watched Neon Genesis Evangelion. So I do want to get to that. It's just, you know, sorry, there's a lot of stuff on the plate, so I forget a lot of stuff. Let's see. Patrick Wilson as Ed Warren. I hope I don't look like Ed Warren. That dude had like 16 chins. His chins were possessed by spirits. I thought he wore like 50s man glasses. Maybe he doesn't wear 50s man glasses. It's because I got my sideburns as well. But now I don't really look like that dude in the face. I know that. Let's see if there's a picture with glasses. No. Yes, here it is. I knew it. I knew that there was. No. That is not what I'm looking for. It's kind of funny though. What happened to 50s man? These are not 50s man glasses. I'm wearing 50s man glasses right now, but you know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about, right? Well, shit, now I've lost the picture. Anyway, forget all this nonsense. Here it is. Back to, is that, let me get my hard face on. Battling demons in houses. Dialing up the hottest psychics to help out, like Dionne Warwick, right? Me and Jamie and Dionne Warwick. We will ghost bust them stank ass ghosts up in your house. We will get them stank ass ghosts out your house. Just give us a call. Who else are you gonna call? Right. All right, so let's get into Batman Forever. Now, Batman Forever, I think, now it wasn't a monetary flop, but it was definitely a damn flop. The critics bombed this movie, and it's pretty stank. It's got some booty stank on it, you know what I mean? If you remember this movie. It's funny, though. It's got enough booty stank on it that you can laugh at it. It is entertaining. And this is one part I didn't remember in Batman Forever. Did you recall that Nicole Kidman is playing the Jungian psychiatrist, psychoanalyst? And do you remember what she says to Val? Do you remember? This is the biggest thing that stood out. She says, you have been traumatized, and as a result of your trauma, you have experienced a split in your psyche. And Batman is your Jungian alter thing, and that's how you're coping with the trauma. Now, you know, as you know, in the past, in the TV show, we covered the Christopher Nolan Batman installments, and certainly that is there as well. But I did not recall it being in this super goofus edition of Batman, but it was. I couldn't believe it. So we have this sort of, you know, call it crazy, but it's there. The whole mind control alternate persona is present even in the goofus version, Batman Forever. Now, this is going to be relevant because I'm going to drop some more bombs on you with Hollywood CIA stuff here in a minute. So that makes it all the more obvious and not so surprising. Eyes wide open, right? Right here. Eyes wide shut. And we're going to have some eyes open right in here. Because remember Nicole's in that. Now, what were we talking about? Where was I at? Oh, so Joel Schumacher and Tim Burton together on this one. Here's some interesting characters. Joel Schumacher, of course, has produced quite a few blockbusters with quite a bit of propaganda in them. We know old Tim Burton has done quite a few of the darker, sort of esoteric type films. Pretty good director, actually. Just speaking of directors, Tim Burton, I've always liked Tim Burton. He's a good director. The last few, what was his last one? Dark Shadows. I like Dark Shadows. Okay, that was pretty good. But I forget what the last Tim Burton movie was. Anyway, Joel Schumacher, not as huge a fan of Joel Schumacher. Didn't he do Lost Boys? Isn't Joel Schumacher involved in Lost Boys? Do I look like Mike? Yes, Michael Douglas. That's right. In Falling Down, he does have the 50s man glasses. That's correct. By the way, yeah, you're right. This awful Jim Carrey The Mask. Smoking, right? And that's so stupid. I remember when that came out and went and saw it in the theater, and I left because I was like, and I actually kind of liked Jim Carrey in the 90s. I thought he was kind of funny because he was, you know, he's funny in Living Color, and he was funny on the first few Jim Carrey movies were kind of funny. And I've always liked Andy Kaufman, so Jim Carrey was great as Andy Kaufman. And The Mask, The Mask was painful. It was almost like they said, Jim, don't be funny, just repeat all of these garbage throwaway taglines. Now, if you watch Arnold movies, they're funny because Arnold just doesn't give a shit and just reads these lines, and he's funny as he is, just reading his dumb one-liners. So you can actually enjoy those, but The Mask it's not even enjoyable. It's awful. But that's going to be relevant because Jim Carrey is our villain, and guess what? Guess who trained Jim Carrey to withstand torture? What? Yes, the CIA. Now, we've all been noticing the weirdness in Jim Carrey in the last few years, and nobody's really sure what's going on with Jim Carrey. I don't know what's going on with Jim Carrey. I think he did hang out with David Icke, which was interesting, but I think Jim Carrey got really into Terrence McKenna, and there was some rumor that he was going to play Terrence McKenna or something, and he actually ended up looking like Terrence McKenna. And there was some documentary that everybody was talking about where Jim Carrey was saying that he felt like he had alters or something. But I think he was doing, you know, the ayahuasca and all this stuff, which is really stupid to do. And so he thinks he got woke. And maybe he did to some degree, but hallucinogens are just not a good way to do it. Trust me, I've done it. It's not the way to go about getting woke. It's very damaging, very dangerous. But there's a documentary that everybody was talking about a couple years ago, and in it, Jim Carrey talks about alters and stuff. I don't know. So he did DMT with who, Joe Rogan or somebody? Somebody saying in the chat. I don't know if that's accurate, but yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if it's something like that. But so I don't know if he's going to play Terrence McKenna, but there was something about him and Terrence McKenna. And he even was looking like Terrence McKenna. It was really weird. And then he was talking about the Illuminati. Remember that? Remember when Jim Carrey was talking about the everybody's like, oh, it's just a joke. It's just a joke. Was it? I mean, I'm not so sure it was. I mean, you know, the Illuminati in the real sense, they do like hallucinogens. That's the CIA side of things who promoted the hallucinogens. So something is going on there. Now, I'm a little saddened because I thought I was going to get to meet Mary Sean Young. Didn't get to, but that's okay. There's Jim. Who is that? That's I guess somebody else was tapped to play. Because Jamie is friends with Mary Sean Young. And so I had thought I was going to get my Blade Runner stuff signed. That's my one nerd area is that, yeah, I'll go get my Blade Runner poster signed. I'll do that. You know, that's like that's a nerd area. Well, I'll be honest. I'll come outright and say, yeah, when it comes to certain Blade Runner, Dune, yeah, I'm a nerd there, an open, confessed nerd. So maybe eventually I can get Muad'Dib's bitch to sign my shit. That's just a joke. That's just a joke. I'm not calling Mary Sean Young a bitch. I can get, what's her other name? What's her name in Blade Runner? I just went blank. That's why I'm drinking coffee. Yes, I thought Cable Guy was funny, by the way. I always liked Cable Guy. Matthew Broderick is funny in that. Jim Carrey is really funny in that. The High Priest of L.A. I mean, come on. We need proof. You can't just make statements. You gotta have some proof. Gotta back up stuff. I was sitting at when I spoke at that LA event, I was right next to Terrence McKenna's widow. Not that that means anything, but I didn't know who Terrence McKenna's widow was. But Sean Young, I know her name is Sean Young, but I'm talking about in Blade Runner. I'm going blank. Anyway, back to this. So the reason this is relevant to Jim Carrey, Rachel, thank you, and Batman is because, do you remember what Jim Carrey is doing in Batman? It's pretty fascinating. He has created a device that basically saps not just your mental energy and attention. No, I didn't get to meet Mary Sean Young. She was busy that day. Jamie and I were gonna meet. Jamie's friends. We were gonna meet her, but she was busy. He's invented a device, and it's going to not just take everybody's attention. It actually saps your IQ and brain power, and it does it through the TV using signals. Hello, exactly. ELF, VLF. Exactly. The fact that Jim Carrey played Satan on Saturday Night Live doesn't prove that he's a high priest of the Church of Satan. So I'm just saying that you have to, I know what it's like now to have the people say that if you do this when you're talking, common hand gestures, then that means you're a freaking satanic high priest, which is just so stupid. Anyway, ELF, VLF, extremely low frequency, very low frequency. So this is basically the manipulation of signals, right? Read the paper Mind War, Psy War, and you'll read all about that, which is all real. So this really goofy, stupid movie has elements of what's true in it. That's what's so key here. What was I looking for? I was looking for a picture of this stupid device. that Jim Carrey has invented. I don't see any easy pictures of it pulling up. So anyway, you get the picture though. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Oh, by the way, Two-Face is in this. Tommy Lee Jones, and Two-Face also is spoken of as having alters. So right at the beginning, we see Two-Face, and Nicole Kidman explains to Val that he has two personalities because of his trauma. She's a psychoanalyst. She cites Carl Jung. And she's on the scene to profile Two-Face as a result of one of the crimes that he's committed. The Riddler, by the way, that is a really dumb name. The Riddler is one of the stupidest villains you could think of. Don't forget, by the way, that Batman in the old TV series with Adam West, I'm not going to play the clip because it'll ding the copyright. If you just Google Adam West, Batman, Skull and Bones, you'll get the clip of the episode where they say that the founder, Batman's dad or granddad, was the founder of Skull and Bones. Exactly. I'm not kidding. Anything I'm telling you, we got a skeptic in the house, Marl Karks. He's not a real skeptic. He's been following us for a long time. They will, you know that I'm telling you the truth. Build a Faraday cage. How about I build a Faraday Nick Cage? Booyah. By the way, somebody messaged me saying they're making a movie and they're trying to get Nick Cage to play in the movie, and he plays every role, they said, right? And I'm like, well, dude, if he says yes, I will drive to where you are and promote your movie so that I can finally meet the cage. I'm going to break out of my cage and I'm going to meet the cage. And I tell you what, if I do ever get to interview Nick Cage, I will do my Nick Cage for him. And I will say, Nick, I want you to rate my cage. And I want you to tell me, honestly, if it's not the best damn Nick Cage you've ever heard. Cross your fingers. I think this is an independent type of movie, which Nick Cage has been doing quite a few independent movies lately. That would be a whole other, like, universe to get to meet Nick Cage. And I was just in New Orleans, by the way, hanging out at the old haunts where Nick is at. I went to his grave. I'm not stalking Nick Cage, by the way. It's all in good fun. We're Nick Cage fans around here. We don't hate Nick Cage. And we're not obsessive. It's just funny. You bet I'll record it. Heck yeah, of course I would record it. I'll ask him about Neoplatonism, Jacob Boehm. I'll ask him about neo-shamanic acting techniques, which he says he's the pioneer of. I will do my impersonation of him. Oh, and we'll talk about Mandy, the esoteric elements in Mandy, which is a great film. And this new film is about Lovecraft. Nick Cage did it, if I recall. It's his film. He did Lovecraft. That sounds really fun. I want to see Nick Cage's Lovecraft movie. Yes. You know Panos Cosmatos? Or are you just talking smack? I don't know. We do have a lot of Hollywood production type people that watch Jay's analysis. I've met many of them. So it's entirely possible. So shout out to you if you do. I'm not a stalker, bro. No, that's just somebody who is, I know a lot of producers and directors and people like that. So not like big A-list ones, but, more on the medium independent tier of stuff. So anyway, no, I'm just a fan. Who would I stalk if I was going to stalk somebody? Well, I got my stalker glasses on, right? These are 50s man stalker glasses. No, I'm joking. Stalking is a fucking beta gamma thing. Dude, I don't stalk no stars. That's like the loseriest thing you could do. Like that dude that was that's written like 9,000 reviews on the porn. The Coomer guy. That's the gamma stalker levels type of stuff. The new meme star of the week, right? Anyway, back to Batman Forever. So, dialectics. Two-Face is dialectics. The movie is full of Promethean Rockefeller-style art. That's interesting. Whoever did the art direction on Batman Forever chose that kind of Ayn Randian, 20s, 30s style Rockefeller Plaza Promethean art. I forget the name of that artist. I've looked it up in the past. I talked about that like 5 years ago, but Edward Nigma, ha ha ha, get it. The Riddler, by the way, is mega beta. So if you want to talk about a mega beta soy, Edward Nigma is one, and he actually has a fascination with Val. That's very subtle. That wouldn't be allowed in today's movie world. But he has a fascination that transcends normal Val Kilmer fan fiction. That's made clear, by the way, in one of the scenes. Is pretty funny, if you don't recall. It's in the background. I noticed that. Never noticed that before. So what I was getting at, the Atlas Shrugged element. There's an Atlas Shrugged to this. And I talked about this in the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy as well, that there's a Ayn Randian Atlas Shrugged element to Bruce Wayne. Have you ever noticed that? If you go back and watch the Christopher Nolan trilogy, it's evident. And I guess that makes sense if Batman's grandpappy was Skull and Bones, right? That does make sense. So he's going to use brainwaves. He's going to tap directly into the brain. And by the way, it's a two-way street. That's the other thing about the technology, is that it's kind of like the Neuralink, right? Where it's not just one way, it's also two-way. So he's going to put thoughts into your head and read your thoughts and sap your IQ, which is essentially what all this tech does, right? It's a virtual reality mind control. It's all kind of wrapped up into one. It's almost like it was predicting where we are now. It's pretty crazy. Now, they did know, DARPA projected. I'm not saying they knew exactly what would be happening, 30 years later, 20 years later, whatever. But they do have projections, so I'm not literally saying they predicted the future. We see the all-seeing eye consistently throughout the film, Masonic imagery, panopticon imagery, which makes sense because there is a surveillance element to this, right? The Jim Carrey character is able to he can't literally see everywhere, but he can almost kind of get a sense of what's going on everywhere with this technology. Chase Meridian, that's the Nicole Kidman character's name. I don't know what, that's weird. I don't know why she's named that. One could look up the name Meridian. I mean, I know about the Meridian, but I don't know if it has like an esoteric sense to it. They just chose a weird name. I don't know, but there is a private tech company that's a front that the Riddler starts. See, now when I do this and I talk like this and I go like that, that's not, I don't mean to be doing 666. These are common hand gestures that people do. When you do a lot of public speaking, when you do a lot of talking, your hands will do things. When you sit on your rest your thumb on your, like that doesn't mean you're a Freemason. I mean, how common do you think it is for people to rest on their hand? That's nonsense. Doesn't it make more sense that all the countless podcasts and talks and videos I've done against Freemasonry would speak to the fact that I'm against Freemasonry? I mean, we did one last week. Anyway, that's one thing about symbols actually that's relevant here. Let's talk about that real quick. So a couple points that we can make about symbols where a lot of lower IQ'd researchers and analysts will make a mistake. One thing they'll do is they'll say, for example, they'll assume that anytime a symbol appears, it means one thing, that symbols are unanimous and consistent across the board. Symbols are different in different contexts. They don't always mean the same thing. Let's give an example from the Bible. The lion. Does the lion have the same significance in the Bible at all times? No, right? Jesus is the lion of the tribe of Judah. Satan is a lion who goes about seeking whom he may devour. So a lion is used both as a symbol of Satan and of Christ. The morning star, right? The Apocalypse speaks of Jesus as the morning star. The Apocalypse also, Scripture in Isaiah also speaks of Lucifer like the morning star. And that's because the brightest star is the planet that rises and sets. So the brightness, right, is what's being referred to there, and that's used in a positive and negative sense. Light, right? The light of Lucifer or the light of God. Light is a symbol or a analogy, an allegory, whatever, simile, metaphor, that's different in different contexts. The cross. Have you ever seen the cross in a circle? It's called the Gnostic Cross. Does that mean that every time a cross appears, it's the Gnostic Cross? No, that's stupid. Even the all-seeing eye. At times, that has been used to signify the all-seeing eye of providence. Now, it was used in ancient Egypt. It's used amongst Freemasons, and it's been used at times to refer to the Trinity and the all-seeing eye of God. Omniscience. Sometimes it just means omniscience. The double-headed eagle. Before the modern usage of the Freemasonic lodges, the double-headed eagle signified the double-headed powers of Byzantium, church and state in Symphonia. Had nothing to do with Freemasonry. There was no Scottish rite of Freemasonry when Justinian was the emperor. Cyril of Alexandria wearing vestments is not Freemasonry, dummy. This is so stupid and so low IQ that I know it doesn't typically deserve a response, but it's illustrative. We're going to use these clowns as illustrative examples of how context determines the meanings of symbol and in the intention of the person doing the symbol. And there's not anything inherently wrong with a number or a symbol itself. Partly it has to do with the intention and the context. Let's give an example. There are people that are so stupid and superstitious that if let's say a bill comes up that they're buying their toothpaste and some other implements, and it comes to $6.66, they'll buy something else because they think that the number is inherently evil. That's stupid. There's nothing that's inherently evil because God created all things. It's the misuse of things that makes something a tool for evil. And even the misuse of a thing doesn't make the thing in itself evil, right? That would be dualism or Zoroastrianism, the idea that things that exist are inherently evil. So when we think about those examples, it's easy to be more nuanced. See, there I did it. Be more nuanced. And this is to be precise and make a point. This is not to signify 666. That's all it means. But it is worth talking about this because so many people make stupid mistakes over symbols and symbolism. A lot of people who even go into like the esoteric side of stuff, who are Masons, like they make stupid mistakes. Let's give an example that's stupid on the part of the Masons. The Masons will say that the name Solomon is Sol Am Un. Sol being sun, Am being the chant of Buddhists, and On being Egyptian god or something. It's really dumb. That is a word that has nothing to do with Latin term soul, nothing to do with Buddhism. It's not a tripartite name that signifies 3 different religious deities, right? That's dumb. Shalom, right? Solomon is from shalom, a Hebrew word, dummy. What does that have to do with soul, soul invictus, or anything like that? So that's just stupid level stuff. Just really dumb. Anyway, I know but that's the level of people that I have to consistently deal with on a daily basis, right? Who make really, really fundamental mistakes. And I can understand. I mean, I was a dumb evangelical when I was 18, and I thought the same kind of stuff, like Alexander Hislop level stuff, like, oh, if there's a similarity between the hat that a bishop wears and what I saw a picture of an ancient Egyptian pharaoh wearing, then genetic fallacy, the bishop's mitre must therefore come from ancient Egyptian alchemy and magic. That's called the genetic fallacy. That's why it's helpful to understand basic fallacies. But actually, it's not. That's a fallacy. First of all, it's a fallacy of association, because it's not even. Well, it could be a genetic fallacy, because just because a hat came from some place doesn't mean a hat's inherently evil, right? But the bishop's mitre doesn't actually come from the ancient Egyptian headdress, so that's stupid. What about? How about that Rockefeller art, my brother? What do you mean about the Rockefeller art? Well, how about it? They did Prometheus, didn't they? Because they're signifying their view of themselves as titans, the titans of industry, right? Titans of banking, titans of corporate power, cartels. That's why Rockefeller Plaza has that Art Deco, Rockefeller style. It's weird because it's like a mix of like fascism, socialism, capitalism all into one. It's very bizarre. But when you understand, the whole big game plan, it makes perfect sense. I think a long time ago, Glenn Beck, of all people, I think he did an expose on why did a socialist do the artwork at Rockefeller Plaza. And by the way, it's the same person, if I recall, who did the Hoover Dam, which is one of those, government FDR type projects. And it's very similar to, I think it's the same person who did, because if you go to Hoover Dam, a lot of people haven't been there. It's all the same kind of weird Art Deco, Promethean, Luciferian art everywhere. It's a very strange place, Hoover Dam. I recommend going to it if you've never been. Anyway. Does Batman swing both ways? Now, I never really thought about this because I don't think about that. But when Jamie and I were watching Batman Forever, I started thinking, this is kind of weird. So I will say that the verdict, I don't think we're supposed to think Batman is secret, like it's all a metaphor for being gay or something. I don't think that's true. But he does act kind of friendly to taking Robin under his wing. That's a little strange. And Robin rides up on his Yamasaki or whatever, little motorbike, and cries, and Batman takes him in. I don't know, but he's also macking on Nicole Kidman, so I don't know. I guess it would depend on who did Batman. And if you looked into the origins of Batman, I don't know about that. But there were some. The Edward Nygma character clearly is having an obsession with Val in this movie. Anyway, so let's get back to the notes here. I always get distracted. So it kind of seems like 5G Internet of Things, and this was the thing that I was going to say about Edward Nygma, is that when he goes crazy and he starts a tech startup that's a front so that he can put a box in everybody's house and beam the virtual reality into their house and control them. Wow. Is this a modem? Is this 5G? It seems like something like that. He's not successful, obviously, but he's able to extract people's thoughts. And so it's a mind reading device, which is very interesting. And although I don't know if the tech that we have can actually do that or not. I don't know, maybe with magnetic resonance imagery or something like that. But the tech that, I mean, I know that they can do that with fMRIs, but I'm saying, will the 5G be able to do that? I don't know about all that. But regardless, it kind of can read your mind because everything that this tech is doing is storing all this data and recording everything. So in that sense, yes, right? So they want to know all your data and have a giant profile on you. That's the main point of all this stuff, right? And for the Internet of Things, they need, you know, the 5G and all that. And then, of course, presumably there will be the virtual reality stuff coming into being. I put MGTOW for Robin because Robin, I think, quits he quits having desires for women. So I don't know, maybe Robin is a little more of than a MGTOW. I don't know. There was something that made me think he was a bit of MGTOW in this, but they seem to be. This is the thing. When Val walks into the big virtual thing, which is, I think, this image here. If you see this image with the Riddler's stuff in it, this is when he walks into the Riddler's virtual room, which maps Val's brain, and it knows all the nodes and connections. That's what this is all about. The brain initiative, Salk brain initiative, mapping the brain and all that. That's all real. So that was the most revealing scene in the whole film. Was that the Riddler has? Oh, this was funny. If you didn't notice, he has like Teen Bop, Tiger Beat magazines with Val on the cover. that's kind of funny, actually. There's a CGI deepfake of a suicide that Jim Carrey creates in this. Interesting. And what's being rolled out now is all the deepfake stuff. Very interesting. So really goofy movie, really absurd, but quite a few weird things. And as usual, we get to the typical internet bullshit of 15 crazy facts. This is a random internet article. 15 weird facts about it. They wanted to replace Michael Keaton. And let's see, it's always somebody that they don't initially get, right? So it was going to be, so here's who was going to be Batman. Daniel Day-Lewis, Kurt Russell, Alec Baldwin, Ethan Hawke, Ralph Fiennes, Tom Hanks, John Depp, Billy Baldwin. I guess, well, Kurt Russell, I like Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell's cool. Ethan Hawke as Batman, I don't know. Definitely not Tom Hanks as Batman, seriously. So I guess Val is the coolest of that crew, along with Kurt Russell and maybe Ethan Hawke. I don't know. Billy D. Williams was going to be in it, which is weird. Hello, what have we here? Hello, what have we here? Chewie. How you doing, you old pirate? You like that's a pretty good Lando. Come on. I do a balls to the wall Lando. Come on. But I didn't know Billy D was going to be in it. He was going to be Two-Face, but for some reason that didn't work out. They get this. Guess who the original Riddler was going to be? Jacko. That didn't work out, so they went with Jim Carrey. Chris O'Donnell was actually going to be played by Robin was going to be Leo Caprio, and that didn't work out. And whatever happened to Chris O'Donnell, by the way? That dude just kind of, like, after the 90s, that dude just went his own way. Renee Russo was going to play the Nicole Kidman character. They decided she was too old. Jim Carrey, by the way, he has social justice hair, if you don't recall. And he acts like a social justice warrior, too, by the way. They weren't sure they liked his purple social justice warrior hair. And it was originally going to be Robin Williams, equally as spurgy as Jim Carrey. Chris O'Donnell. There was remember the dumb controversy too in the 90s of the that Chris O'Donnell paid thousands of dollars to have his cod piece made bigger. That's so stupid. Let's see. Tommy Lee Jones hated Jim Carrey, and that was a problem. But production began in 1994 on Batman Forever, and Tommy Lee Jones could not get along with Val Kilmer. Tommy Lee Jones said Val was irrational and ballistic and rude and inappropriate. I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know. They gave the Batman breastplate nipples. This was a controversy. It was very important stuff, right? Oh, Christian Bale was going to be Robin. That's who's in that picture. I couldn't tell who this was up here. This is more difficult than you think to point in the opposite direction of what your brain tells you. That's Christian Bale, which is bizarre. Let's see, any more? A bunch of blah blah blah. By the way, I've seen this weird, goofy Batmobile. I've been to. If you do the Warner Brothers tour, which actually I recommend the Warner Brothers tour if you're in Hollywood. I thought it was going to be absurd. It was actually worth doing. I actually really enjoyed the Warner Brothers studio tour. I wanted to do, Paramount and some of the other ones, but I didn't get to. I wasn't there long enough for the last time. If I go back, I would actually probably do some more studio tours because if you like movies, they're actually really fascinating. You will actually go on to many of the real sets, which is pretty cool, of quite a few movies. So I did get to see, not that I gave a shit about this dumb plastic car, but it was interesting to see that these are real cars. So what they do is they take, like race cars, and then they just put a big plastic frame over it. And you'll notice the plastic frames because quite often in the scenes, the plastic fins are bouncing up and down on this goofy looking Batmobile. And let's see. So they were originally going to do this movie very different. It has that has the feel of the silliness of remember the Dick Tracy movie with Madonna in it? How silly that was, which I think it kind of flopped. But so they weren't going to do that. They were going to do it in a dark way. Joel Schumacher wanted to do something more like Lost Boys, which would have been interesting. But instead, they made the money, made all these Batmans in the 90s, made bank, but critical flop. Now, we did want to mention, this is in a few articles of note recently. The CIA trained Jim Carrey to withstand torture for the role of the Grinch, which is not what I would have expected. But this article says, for many Americans, the blockbuster movies that we watch, blah, blah, blah. Jim Carrey's undersea insanity aside, sometimes the most difficult actors aren't in lofty auteur films. Sometimes it's the popcorn movies that push actors to the breaking point. That's an interesting point, yeah. Of all the crazy roles, it was the Grinch that nearly broke him. The first day, the makeup took 8.5 hours. It was like being buried alive. By the end of the first day, I remember hearing about this, about how difficult Jim Carrey said the makeup was. We had an actor being held prisoner by his costume. It was like being tortured by the makeup. The CIA specialist was brought in to teach Jim Carrey to survive the Grinch makeup in the same way that he had taught spies to survive under hostile interrogation. I wonder, but was he being taught other things too, maybe? Was he being Was this a cover for being trained for other stuff? Could be. He made a call, and the unnamed CIA specialist hopped on a plane and flew in that Friday. He and Carrey locked themselves in a room for the majority of the weekend, where the instructor taught Jim Carrey different methods of that the CIA employs on torture and dealing with discomfort. Jim Carrey would later say that this weekend of CIA training was quite hilarious, but it's hard to argue with the results. After attempting to quit the first day, Carrey went on to don the Grinch makeup for 100 days more of filming, and it proved worth it. The film made $345 million, and it won an Oscar for Best Makeup. That is very bizarre. But it also illustrates, as you can obviously tell, that the connections between Hollywood and the CIA run much deeper than most of us think. And I was talking about that 10 years ago and being called crazy. But I was right. I'll read a few super chats before we move on to the next one. So there you go. There's Batman Forever. Interesting. Very goofy. Cheeseball as heck. 1995. Remember 1995? That was not a good year for me, but memorable. High school overall was fun. Ben Jolly, 10 pounds. Charles Carroll did a stream where he was ripping Spartan. That's funny. And I would recommend it. Yeah, I watched quite a few of Charles Carroll's streams. He's a funny guy. I like all the MDE guys for sure. But I haven't seen him riffing on Spartan. I would like to see a chat with Charles. He seems the most woke of the former MDE members. Cool beans, dude. Yeah, Charles is a based dude for sure. Shining Diamond, $5. We'll do an esoteric analysis of anime movie. Will you do Ghost in the Shell and Akira? Yeah, we talked about Ghost in the Shell when that Scarlett Johansson movie came out, which was not that great, but yeah, it should be. It deserves an esoteric analysis for sure. Thoughts on Resistance to Evil by Ivan Ilyin? I haven't read the book. I mean, Mark has Hackard has translated several Ilyin essays that I've recommended for the last 3 or 4 years at Soul of the East, but I've not read that book, so I can't comment on Resistance to Evil. But everything I've read from Ivan Ilyin is really good, really based, solid Russian philosophy so far. Moral Carks, $2. Rockefeller Art, Art Deco. Moral Carks, $4.99, which I do actually like. I don't like the Promethean stuff, but I do like the look and style of Art Deco. You know, if you play BioShock, I was going to stream BioShock. That would have been fun. And then, as you guys know, if you were there that day, for some reason, 2K doesn't allow BioShock to be streamed. I don't know why. But Art Deco is cool. My eyes are getting dried out. Need some water. I forgot all about the mind control box in the movie, not far off from where we are today. Exactly. And that's why it was relevant to the Val stream. Moral Carks again. My big takeaway from Batman Forever was how the Riddler identified who Batman was from Val Kilmer's thoughts. Exactly. Similar to the algorithm today. Exactly. It's about profiling and knowing you deep down. That's the whole thing. All right, let's move on to the next. Next up, by the way, Boiler Room is going to follow tonight. We will have Boiler Room as usual at 9 o'clock after the Val stream. What do you guys want to do next? Let's do The Saint next. The Saint was one of my favorite movies from the 90s. I loved The Saint. I remember going to the theater to see The Saint. I think I saw it twice. I was like, this is so much fun. I love this. This is a great 90s movie. And it was one of the first analyses at Jay's Analysis. It has a great techno 90s dance soundtrack with Chemical Brothers, Sneaker Pimps. It's great. It's fun. It's still on my playlist. The Saint soundtrack has quite literally been on my playlist since 1997. And this is my senior year, so, you know, I was freaking badass my senior year. Not that I wasn't before, but come on. I won wittiest of my high school. I'm still proud of that. Still living in the past, glory days. I did not think I would get wittiest. Actually, I was shocked when I won wittiest because I thought, well, because I was kind of a douchebag, you know. I was pretty d-baggy my high school period. I think I was funny, but I was pretty d-baggy. And we organized a lot of funny high school trolling black ops. We were like the black ops team of our high school. We did all kinds of crazy things, like getting people that, well, I can't say that story because that story might get me in trouble. But we got people who were not fit to be class president, elected class president, to the dismay of the head of the cheerleading squad, who threw a fit. And that was one of our great Black Ops achievements. I participated in many other trolling Black Ops in high school, which are quite legendary, such as giving away awards for theater tournaments to the wrong schools. And many, many other things that were quite funny. I'll leave it at that. When I die, I'll have like a, you know, like tell all or something, like the tell all TMZ, and you guys can know all the high school Black Ops. But 1997 is the year of the Saint. Oh, and it has that great Duran Duran song, right? Got to get you out of my mind. And Val drives. This is another weird thing about where they, for the product placement, I remember this because I remember the ads on TV. He drives like a Honda or something like that. The Saint drives this really normie car. He's driving like a Honda Civic around, or a Subaru or something that's totally not, you know, James Bond, Aston Martin stuff. I don't know. I don't know why. Well, obviously it was product placement, but of course, if you recall, it is Roger Moore, the original Saint, who at the end comes on the radio. So they included Roger Moore gave him a little spot there. But you will be surprised, if you've not seen The Saint, you will be surprised at what's in The Saint when you go back and watch it. And you'll see why. The Saint was one of the first analyses at Jay's Analysis. Uh-oh. Guess what? They're going to redo The Saint. I didn't even see this, just popped up. They want Chris Pratt to play the Saint. Interesting. I think he could pull that off. Because the Saint's kind of a, I mean, if they want it to be kind of a funny character, right? I think El Santo. Now, before I knew any of the esoteric jibber jabber, I always wondered, why is he called Simon Templar? Did you know he's Simon Templar? And at the beginning of this, they explain why he's called Simon Templar. And it's because he's in a Catholic orphanage. He's an orphan, if you don't recall the mythology of the Saint. And he's reading a comic book, and he reads about the Templars. But then he reads something else in a book about Simon Magus. Simon Magus! So the young Aussie or Brit, Val, I can't tell what that kid is, but he's like, I don't have a name. My name's Simon Magus. And so the horrid orphanage priest, Roman Catholic psycho, of course he beats the kids and shit, right? Which is probably accurate. Well, Simon Magus is a little Mac Daddy troublemaker. He frees the food for the children. So he's like a revolutionary. And so this leads, of course, to the orphan becoming the secret agent. Now, this is interesting because actually orphans are recruited at times into intelligence work because guess what? If you don't, I mean, not always. I'm just saying that this has happened in the past. Because if you don't have a parent, then the state is a perfect parent for you. Right? This is the mythology of James Bond. James Bond is, his mummy is mum. Right? The queen, the state. You become an agent of the state. Now, the saint is a little different because he's not exactly an agent of the saint, of the state. He's actually a private intelligence operative who, at least in this installment, I haven't ever watched the Roger Moore show, so I don't know what the, I don't know if the mythology is different in the old show, but here, he's a private intelligence operative, which that does exist, by the way. There are private networks of intelligence operatives who work for money, like mercenaries. So not all black ops or intelligence operations are some national government. But that's the mythology here with Val. And Val is able to go under a bunch of different disguises, you see. Hence the name the Saint. And he always picks a saint for his different alternate personas. Now, we don't get the impression that this is about Val, the Saint, literally having alters. That's not what's going on here. However, he is traumatized, right? Because he falls in love in the orphanage with Agnes, and Agnes is sacrificed. Not exactly, but she dies, right? The Lamb of God, basically. And this is what traumatizes him. He feels responsible for her death, even though he didn't really cause it. He kind of accidentally causes Agnes to die. So he flees the orphanage and fast forward to many years later. And enter in the 90s Russian propaganda. This is where it gets interesting. Ivan Tretiak. Enter the Tretiak character. Who is Ivan Tretiak? Well, I forget this actor's name, but he always plays the Russian guy in every movie. And this is literally Dugin and Putin melded into one. I'm not joking. Go watch The Saint, and Ivan Tretiak is quite literally Dugin and Putin at once. And so he's up there giving lectures. You see Russian Orthodox bishops all around him. And Tretiak has written this book about the resurgence of Russia, the Third Rome. So Hollywood, interesting. Very aware of Russian philosophy. Who wrote this, by the way? Let's look and see who wrote the 1997 Saint. Rada Serbija, by the way, is the... if you recall, he's in Eyes Wide Shut, isn't he? Rada Serbija plays the costume shop owner. I guess he's forever typecast as the generic Russian Eastern European villain. Let's see. So this is written by Leslie Charteris, who was the author. So he's the screenplay writer of the original Saint guy that wrote the Saint show. Let's see. Was he a spy? He probably was. I mean, I don't know. I'm just guessing. He went to Cambridge. Probably was a spy. I mean, most of the time, all this spy shit on TV is written by spies. But let's see who the Hollywood people were that did the Val installment here. Jonathan Hensley, Tulane University. Let's see, did Lethal Weapon, Jumanji, Young Indiana Jones. So some generic stuff, and then Wesley Strick, screenplay writer who did, what did he do? Superman Lives, Batman Returns, Face Off. Face Off. It's a Nick classic. We love Face Off around here. So anyway, I don't know if the CIA consulted on this or not. But it does have interesting anti-Russian propaganda in it. Now, that becomes very evident when you're a little bit geopolitical woke over the years. When I saw this in the 90s, I was a complete retard. Had no idea what was going on in the world. But I do have a degree of geopolitical wokeness nowadays. And it's very easy now to look at this and see the absurdity of Russian propaganda in this. Now, guess what, though? That's not all that's going on here. It's not just geopolitical awareness. There's also Tesla tech. Tesla tech. Cold fusion is all in this. And alchemy. And that was why I wrote one of the first analyses at Jay's Analysis a long time ago on movies. Is because I was like, why is there alchemical imagery and symbolism in this goofy movie? I don't understand. And then I started noticing, well, he's Simon Templar, right? It's about the fusion of opposing principles. And the same idea is present in Cold War. Even though this isn't Cold War, the idea is hearkening back to Cold War neocon stuff. Because, oh, Russia's going to rise again and we got to be scared of Russia. So I did my analysis many years ago. I need to fix these. These links are all old and broken. But Simon Magus, of course, is the arch heretic in the book of Acts. And Val is choosing that name because he sees himself as alienated because of the creeper psychoness of the Roman Catholic priests in his orphanage. And Val has to do miracles, but this is a funny theme, right? Because saints do miracles. Val's miracles are trickery and deceit, which is, they're usually pretty funny, right? Because he's a private intelligence operative. So Val sneaks into the Kremlin. The up-and-coming would-be Tsar Ivan Tretiak, surrounded by Orthodox bishops and patriarchs, propounds the Third Rome thesis, the rise of a new Byzantium. Tretiak is a former communist, now billionaire oil magnate. Now, this is interesting because the fall of the wall, the true nature of the KGB and communism essentially being looted, you could say, by the West, the Harvard boys, right? Larry Summers and all that. Harvard University, Bill Clinton, Obama people. That's who organized the looting of Russia in the 90s. So this is after that. Val is just working as a private person, though, to steal a microchip that is worth a lot of money. I don't remember what this microchip does, but it has something to do with whatever Tretiak's up to. But it's interesting because Tretiak went from being communist to now billionaire capitalist. And so the movie is playing with these dialectics in an interesting way. Val says he's Martin Depor, and Martin Depor could heal, supposedly, if you believe the Roman Catholic stories, by laying on hands. Martin Depor, however, when he's sneaking out, lays on hands and does his miracles in a Mac Daddy way. So, that's the first miracle. But Val is plagued by his youthful trauma, and he can't remember his name and doesn't have an identity. This is interesting. Enter Tesla and the Tesla technology and alchemy. So Tretiak decides to meet with the saint, mysteriously, who has stolen his microchip, and instead of trying to take him out, well, he actually thinks he's going to still take him out, but he offers him a job and says, okay, you work for me and steal the formula for cold fusion from Elizabeth Shue, named Emma Russell. And if you steal the cold fusion technology, I'll pay you, I don't know, $30 million, whatever it is. So enter Elizabeth Shue, who is an eccentric genius. You know, all the women who, you know, invent Tesla. Tesla was a woman, right? All the inventions of the 20th century were, in fact, women. In alchemical fashion, the saint seems to be smitten with her in a amorous way. And in an alchemical fusion here, we have an analogy between the fusion of energy out of the atmosphere and the fusion of sexual energy. Excuse me. So Val breaks into the apartment and he reads her. And what's interesting is that when he reads her, he picks out people like Albrecht Dürer, and some poets who were actually alchemists, because she's at Oxford, right? So she likes some of these alchemical Elizabethan era people. John Donne, Ben Jonson, Percy Bysshe Shelley, these kind of characters, right? So Val tricks her. He shows up as the archetype of what she would find sexually attractive. And what's he say? He says his name is what? Thomas More. Thomas More, because this is I like the gay Val is funny because he tricks Tretiak with the gay character. That was pretty funny. But Thomas More is my favorite because Val is just being like a Jim Morrison from South Africa. It's just really bizarre, but he macks on her, spits some game right when they're standing by that naked statue, and he's like, his lines are terrible, but they work. He's like, "Do you like it? Do you like it?" And she's like, "I like the way the light holds her." And he goes, perhaps I should take you to my home. Have you ever been on a long journey?" So, guys, next time you want to hit on a chick, try it. Just walk up to her and say, "Have you ever been on a long journey? Perhaps I should take you to my home, to Africa, the source of all life." Terrible lines, but they work. So then they go and drink wine. Val insists on her continuing to drink copious amounts of wine. "Drink a wine, drink a wine, drink a wine." And he pulls out a fat wad of cash from his breeches, buys more wine, the most expensive wine, and stages getting drunk and falling over and cutting his head. And he says, I was weeping and thinking of you and drinking. I fell and broke. I cut myself. I was thinking of you." And it works. So he seduces her. And there's a reference to the Cold Fusion sexual innuendo poem that comes up. "I see my angel for the first time. I know my purpose. I feel my birth. Hear at first faintly, then distinctly, the sweet strains of our union." This is alchemy. Cold fusion. "Our love heats up the cold universe. It gives my tired, desperate hope, purified by our kisses, are eternally healed." So it is made evident that the conquering of nature with the discovery of the secrets of Emma Russell via cold fusion is intimately connected to Val's Mac Daddy conquering of Dr. Russell's feminine nature. In the alchemical view, sex is a symbol of the process of transformation and is a transformational symbol in the sexual act itself, vice versa. This is the meaning of the Vesica Pisces. Dr. Russell carries her formula for creating energy in her bra, which amuses Val, who jokes about the secret energy. What else do you keep in your underwear?" And she says, "Nothing." And he says, "That's not true." And this is all referred to as magic. The saint finally seduces her and steals the formula. Magic, sex, and science. They all seem to be connected. Now, moving on to part 2 of the analysis. Val, of course, begins to feel remorse over this selling out Emma because Emma is pure. She is pure and he is deceptive. And he realizes that for the first time in his life, he's actually met someone who is not completely deceptive. Now, if you remember, Val jumps in the waters of Moscow and almost freezes to evade Tretiak's goons. How does Val not die? She has to heat him up. And this is actually referred to. They actually talk about this being a cold fusion. There's actually a pretty deep analysis for what you thought was just absurdity. This is kind of an interesting alchemical analysis, right? Then we have Val fleeing to the sewers, the underground of Moscow, where they meet a black market of art dealers selling icons. And guess what comes up? The icon of St. Nicholas. The icon of St. Nicholas. And it's being sold for like, I don't know, $10,000 or something crazy. Anyway, I guess there is an underground icon market, right? That actually does go on because many icons are pretty valuable. But it's just weird that that pops up in this scene. And but this woman says she sells the icon of the Virgin of the Damned. That's weird. It's very bizarre. But the icon of the Damned recalls the breasts of Persephone, as she has to nurture the babe Dionysius back to health, transitioning him from the old man to the new man, much the same as the reborn Horus rushes to Isis. Researcher Daniel Jones says. Leaving the sewers, they're again almost nabbed by Tretiak, but Russell flees to the American embassy. And there Val is... Who's the next one? He takes on another identity. I forget what his next... Augustine. He says he's Saint August. I am Saint Augustine. Lord, free me from lust, but not just yet. Right? He's like Colonel Sanders, but Saint Augustine, Colonel Sanders. It's a really goofy character. Anyway, so there's communism imagery comes into fore with Red Square. This is, I guess, just hearkening to Anglo-American versus Russian, Cold War fears or whatever. I need a different picture. I lost where's my Saint stuff at? So now all I'm getting is, so there was a 2017 Saint with Elijah Dushku, or is that a TV show? I guess that's a TV show. I didn't even know there was a TV show. Anyway. Back to the alchemy here. I think we've covered most of the alchemical points, but so basically it's about it, and then it brings in the free energy stuff, which a lot of that's a bunch of conspiracy gobbledygook BS. I don't exactly know what's going on with all that. I mean, there could be free energy that exists. Who knows? Probably, but if it does, then they've kept it on lockdown, and they're never going to let that out. For sure. We know that. But the film does have this interesting, conspiracy related plot to free energy. And Tretiak's thing is that he's going to nab and steal the free energy, but then that doesn't work. So he doubles up on his conspiracy scam, the Tretiak character, and his plan is to sell the free energy to the Russian government and net the profits and run off somewhere. Becomes his plot. And there is Elizabeth Shue with her bong, her cold fusion bong. That's what it looks like. Scotland Yard, of course, can't nab old Val. Val gets away. I was looking for all these pictures are low res. Can't find good pictures, but yeah, essentially he wants to control energy markets. So we get another insight into the real global power structure, not because Russia runs everything, but because it is about controlling energy markets. That's, pretty much the biggest game, right? Everything runs around energy. Obviously banking, right? But those two are connected. BIS, and then the nuclear and oil rackets. So we see the Saint is a very entertaining, and it still holds up. It's still a good movie. It's funny in places still. Val's characters are still funny. The propaganda is pretty much on overload mode. And it's actually kind of amusing. You can actually watch this and laugh at how absurd the propaganda is in the Saint. But regardless, all those negatives aside, still one of my favorite 90s movies. The poetry written by Simon Templar, here's some facts, weird facts, is actually written by Val. So Val wrote that heartwarming, Elizabeth Shue seducing poetry. The voice of the radio announcer is Roger Moore. We all know that. Simon uses his Nokia 9000 communicator cell phone. This phone was the most cutting-edge cell phone in 1996. And it functioned as a handheld phone and a pocket computer and a mini QWERTY keyboard all built into one. So he actually had like the first little sort of iPhone. Which is interesting because that does come up in a scene. I forgot to mention the gadgety stuff there. So got advanced cell phones way ahead of everything else. That's always what the spy movies have. In the original version of the film, Dr. Russell collapses giving a lecture and dies in his arms. The original screenplay had the saint seeing Tretiak stabbing her in the leg with a cane. With Dr. Batman's help, he switches the formulas and humiliates Tretiak in a show trial. That's a bizarre ending. So, yeah, I kind of like the Val sneaking away ending better than that. That was kind of stupid. Val turned down a return to the Batman franchise due to commitment to The Saint. Well, The Saint is definitely a better movie, just as movies go, than the goofy Batmans. But the Batman franchise probably still kept making money. Do you think, let's see, I'll bet you the Clooney Batman still made a lot of money. Because even though those are critical failures, like Batman and Robin has 3 out of 10 critical stars. It still made money. It probably didn't make as much as they thought. Let's see, that one cost $125 million and made $230, which is probably not what they were hoping for. And let's see what Batman Forever. Batman Forever was a pretty big hit. It doesn't say what it cost, but it made $336 million. So that's pretty big. Let's see. There was going to be a Saint movie in the 80s with Pierce Brosnan, but he was James Bond in the 90s. Roger Moore met Val Kilmer at the Cannes Film Festival after the movie came out, and Kilmer said, "Boy, we really messed up. We really messed that up." To Moore, when Moore asked what he meant, Val said, "Well, after we finished filming, I went and read the stories. Those are some damn good stories." Roger Moore didn't agree with Val Kilmer, so I guess Val Kilmer thinks it was not good. When Ivan Tretiak calls himself Boris the Spider, this is a reference to the 1966 Who song written by John Entwistle. I did not know that. I don't care about the Who, so that's why I don't know that. The production guy, here we go. The guy who did production, John Lanzer, one of the production guys. He wrote The Knights Templar and the Crowning Crusade, which is what Simon is reading in the movie. Interesting. The blonde Russian prostitute who hides Val and Elizabeth after he falls into the river is Rada Serbija's daughter. Interesting. So yeah, there's a million of these. I'm not gonna read all these facts. There's like 50 facts on here. So, but anyway, that's some neat stuff. So, time to move on. We got Boiler Room coming up. We can't do this all night. Anyway, what do you guys think of The Saint? What do you guys think? I think it's a fun movie. Got all the alchemy in there. Oh, Mrs. Doubtfire. We will not be analyzing Mrs. Doubtfire. I'll tell you that right now. Death to babysitters? What are you guys talking about? Yes, the icons come up in the film. Well, the icon of Nicholas is in the film. I can't remember what else comes up. It was a hoot. Okay, yeah. Saint's a hoot. So Willow. Burgle cut.
Mad Martigan, you are great.
I do a pretty good Warwick Davis, don't I? All right. So the movie was written for Warwick Davis, which is bizarre, right? I mean, he's R2-D2 if you didn't know. If you will recognize Warwick Davis because he's in basically, he was the Tyrion of his day. He was the Tyrion. If Game of Thrones was made then, Warwick Davis would be Tyrion. And I think, isn't Warwick Davis the main Ewok? What's the main Ewok's name? I don't remember. I'm not that nerdy. Come on. My Warwick. I know my Warwick is on point. Come on, y'all. I do good impersonations. Don't we? Come on. We know this, right? Some of y'all are here just for the impersonations.
I stole a baby from a stupid bikini while he was taking a pee-pee.
Kevin Pollak is one of the brownies. Did you know Kevin Pollak? Wicket. Yeah, Wicket is the Ewok. Did you know Kevin Pollak does the best Christopher Walken? Go look up the Kevin Pollak Christopher Walken impersonation. He's the best. I can't find anybody that does it better than him. So, because Warwick Davis was such a badass Ewok, this movie was going to be called Munchkins, which sounds terrible. George Lucas said he liked the idea, but then said, well, Ron Howard's going to direct it because this is a Lucasfilm production. And then it got changed around to Willow, which is better than Munchkins. That sounds terrible. And it was criticized for being a copy of Star Wars. Well, what do you expect Lucasfilms to put out but a copy of Star Wars? I mean, come on. Really? I mean, we all know that Star Wars is Carl Jung through the lens of Joseph Campbell. Joseph Campbell is watered down Carl Jung. That's all it is. So what do you expect Willow to be? And I don't have a whole lot to say about Willow because it is basically just the Lord of the Rings of that time, right? I mean, there hadn't been Lord of the Rings yet other than the cartoon Lord of the Rings, right? With, Leonard Nimoy singing Bilbo songs and shit, right? And actually, the cartoon Lord of the Rings is not terrible, but where there's a whip, there's a way. Crack the dishes, chip the dishes, crack the plates. That's what Bilbo Baggins hates. I remember that from being a kid. I do remember that. It was the largest casting of short people in the history of movies. It even beat Wizard of Oz. The death dogs are real dogs in costumes. Yeah, no shit. Yeah, thank you, Mashable, for clearing that one. I thought there were actually death dogs that were part dog and part pig. Yeah, come on. It's the first movie to use CGI morphing with, what's her name?
Willow.
Not Bavmorda, but the witch, the good witch. I forget her name. Did not know it was the first movie film to use CGI morphing. This is 1988, right? So the first, if I recall, isn't it? Tron is the first movie to implement a good amount of computer effects at that time. But then Last Starfighter is the first movie to use extensive CGI scenes and sequences, for your information. And this is the first to use morphing. I knew it. There is a missing scene concerning magic acorns. Now, I thought I was crazy or some kind of Mandela effect bullshit was going on. And this explains it. Because I remembered a scene I remembered a scene with acorns that I had on some old VHS or something. And it says that hardcore fans of the film have noticed that there's a continuity error with the magic acorns. I thought I was crazy. During an interview, Warwick Davis explained that the scene near the end of the film throws a second acorn explicitly is cut out after only having used 2 of the acorns. It's included in the Blu-ray releases of the film. Anyway, that's super nerd shit. Mad Mardigan was going to be played by John Cusack. No, we don't. That doesn't make sense. So definitely glad that it's Val. We don't want John. I mean, John Cusack movies. I like John. I'm a John Cusack movie fan. But by the way, he came to town, and you could go and do a Q&A. I was this close. I almost went. It was like $200. I was like, do I want to pay $200 to ask John Cusack questions? And I was like, what would I ask him? Well, I was going to give him a copy of Esoteric Hollywood, but I'm not going to pay $200 to sit and ask John Cusack one question. I'm not doing that. And it wasn't even about shit that I would have, been wanting to ask about. They were doing a showing here locally of High Fidelity, which is an okay rom-com with, him and Jack Black. And it would have been interesting because John Cusack is very politically active. Now, he promoted the Russiagate nonsense, which is lame. But he was very up on all the NSA stuff, which is interesting. And he was promoting James Bamford really heavily, which is interesting. But why he was promoting all that Russiagate crap? Come on. Come on. Lloyd Dobler, you're better than that. Lloyd, you know better than that. Come on, Lloyd. I expect better from Lloyd Dobler. So, glad that John Cusack was not Mad Mardigan. However, there are a lot of great John Cusack movies. Let's see. Any other interesting facts about Willow? No. But, of course, the main point that we want to get to with Willow is that not only is it sort of an amalgamation of, the Moses myth. I'm not saying Moses is a myth. The Moses mythology or archetype that's in all the movies is what I'm saying. And the Christological mythos, right? If you remember, they put the baby down the river at the beginning. This is very Mosaic, right? And that's because he's just borrowing from Ark. And then, obviously, he took a lot of stuff from Tolkien, right? There's not been a real Tolkien movie yet. No Lord of the Rings movie yet. But the main point is that the witch, Bavmorda, she's sacrificing babies to get power, to remain young. And I dare say that probably does go on. So that is a very interesting element to this film, isn't it? I don't know. We could debate whether George Lucas is telling us something or not, or whether he was just trying to come up with a goofy plot, or, but as more and more things come out in our crazy world, it does seem like the crazier and the crazier stuff, cannibalism, etc., is seeming to be a real thing. Now, we know it was in the ancient world, but did it just continue in secret? Well, it's more and more seems to be the case, that the degenerate, devilish occult practices really do go on. Do we actually live in the world more like Willow than the world that we thought we lived in? All right, last movie up. Willow definitely is the essence of the 80s. Is the 2004 David Mamet movie Spartan. I forgot who told me to watch Spartan several years ago, because I didn't see Spartan when it came out, but I did see it maybe 10 years ago. And I thought, wow, that was a pretty good movie. That wasn't what I expected. Now, 10 years ago, I was a lot less woke than I am now. And it was around that time that David Mamet had his political conversion out of the sort of normie liberal sphere of things into more of a libertarian paleo-conservative type of view. I read, not the whole thing, but I read quite a bit of David Mamet's book that he put out, I don't know, whenever that was. And I didn't think much about it at the time, but actually now when I go back and watch Spartan, after all of the things that have come out in the last few years, I was like, damn, son. Damn, son. That's actually telling us quite a bit. Spoiler alert, because if you've not seen Spartan, and obviously there's goofy Hollywood stuff in here. There always is. All right, so I'm not saying everything in Spartan is true. Obviously not. But, so Val is Secret Service, and Val is tasked with extracting the president's daughter, Kristen Bell, before anybody knew who Kristen Bell was, is the president's daughter. And she has been hanging out with hoes. She's been hanging out with them hoes. And so she was going to her hoey friend's hoe center. And she got nabbed by some traffickers who didn't know that it was the president's daughter. So these traffickers have the president's daughter, and it's, oops, we didn't know that. So they organized a plot for Val to go into the organization of the criminal underworld to extract the president's daughter. And turns out, in order to do this, they have to stage a scenario where Val looks like a criminal. And they stage a very elaborate event. I'm not going to say anything that's involving this event because I'm going to be speaking in the YouTube code so that you can know what I'm talking about. An event is staged in a very profound way by the intelligence operatives here. And this allows Val to go into the criminal underworld. So that was interesting. Scene number one, after being mega woke like I am now, as opposed to 2008, pretty woke. And then Val discovers that they don't actually want to recover the president's daughter because the president's daughter has damning info on her dad, the president, and she's threatened to leak it. And so daddy president, who's totally corrupt, has just decided to let her go to go live with her traffickers. And so we discovered that the president is actually the most corrupt one. And underneath him is a deep state who's actually behind and allowing this trafficking to occur. Wow. Damn, son. So, was David Mamet telling us some of this stuff back then? I mean, I remember, I thought I knew all kinds of shit. I mean, I did, compared to the general public, which is not saying much. I knew a lot in 2008. Like, stuff that I said then is coming out now. But even I wasn't like as woke to understand that this movie was actually, again, there's Hollywood stuff in it, all the silly spy stuff is not true. But that was a pretty damn woke movie, David Mamet. So I'll give you some. So maybe I need to watch more David Mamet movies, right? Because I mean I've seen some, but I just watched Ronin the other day. Ronin's pretty good. It's like a heist movie, right? But yeah, there's definitely some revelations going on with Spartan. All right, so let's take a few more of these awesome super chats. Thank you guys so much for your support. Appreciate it so much, especially as things are getting difficult on YouTube. I mean, this is such a great platform to, the technology and the ability to do this is so, it's like living in a wonderland to be able to do this, right? But, for various reasons, there's continuous changes to the technology and the algorithm and all that. So, we never know where things are going. You can never be in this whole tech world of stuff, especially if you make a living doing this stuff, you never know what's coming tomorrow, right? So as long as we have it, we will make use of it. And I thank you guys for your support. I'm the author, of course, of Esoteric Hollywood 1 and 2. You can get signed copies. If you like this kind of analysis, you can get my books at the shop at Jay's Analysis. I'll leave you a link here for the shop. By the way, I did also watch Val's movie Salton Sea. Not a whole lot to really analyze there, except corrupt cops. No surprise there. We all know that there are corrupt cops. Not every cop is corrupt. I'm not saying that. But Salton Sea was just a pretty good, you know, cop thriller type of thing that I had never seen, and that was fun. So thank you to John Adams for recommending that. And I watched another Val movie with Rachel Lee Cook, one of her first movies, where Val plays a drill sergeant. I've already forgotten the name of it. It was all right. It's kind of it was a lackluster drama. And Val's only in it for like 10 minutes as a drill instructor, so it wasn't that good. I forget the name of it, but it was, I think, Rachel Lee Cook's one of her first movies. Raffling Steaks, $5. What is your opinion on vote scam by the Collier brothers? Also stream Bloodborne. Oh, the video game Bloodborne? Maybe. I don't know what Vote Scam by Collier Brothers is. Is that like a documentary exposing voting scams? I don't know. I'll have to check that out. Sorry that I'm not more astute and aware of that. I mean, obviously voting is a scam, but you know, I don't know what that is. So there's the shop if you want to get signed copies of my book. And also I've added Jamie's book to the store, so you can get signed copies of Jamie's book there as well. Limited numbers of those, but they are available. The Big Mistake. No, I already did that. Hans Lager, $2. Word up, Jay. Glad to see you back. Yep, I'm back home. Thank you. Glad to be back. Marl Karks, $1.99. Controlling oil for revolutionary political power. Exactly. Very telling, isn't it? Marl Karks, feminist agenda pushing female engineers. Elizabeth Shue can't even babysit kids. That's a good Christopher Columbus movie. By the way, The Adventures in Babysitting is actually a version of Dante's Inferno. They go into hell. I'm not joking. I noticed this the last time, and I've been meaning to do Adventures in Babysitting, where we'll do a movie stream with these 80s classics. But yeah, I noticed Chris Columbus actually did put some archetypal, esoteric Dante themes in Adventures in Babysitting. If you go watch it, you'll see what I mean. They actually do go. It's a journey into hell and back. It's like a harrowing of Hades story. I'm not joking. Especially when they're at the blues club. It's like called the Hell Club or something like that. It's even called the Inferno or something. But actually, Adventures in Babysitting is not a bad 80s movie. Justin Stam, $10. Thank you, Justin. Finally, Willow. Now recite the best line in the movie. Oh, I'm sorry. Peck. Out of the way, Peck. Is that enough? Do you want to hear some? I mean, those are pretty good, right? Nobody leaves without singing the blues. Exactly. So these are our fun. This was, you know, fun Val stream. Definitely fun Val stream. There's one Val movie I forgot. The one I think I still haven't seen the one with him and he's in one with his wife or former wife, Joanna Whaley, right? Who's Bob Morta's daughter. They have a movie. I haven't seen that movie, but anyway. Jay, show me your magic finger. Isn't the magic finger that one? Right? Isn't it that one? I think that's what.
Consult the bones. The bones tell me nothing.
Jay, I lost my Winn-Dixie manager job. Oh, sorry, dude. But recently, I've supplemented my income by making meth in the bathtub. I do have some super chats. Thank you. Thank you, Moral Karks. And we would expect nothing less from a Karksist like yourself, Moral, to be supplementing income with meth. Also, you can subscribe to Jay's Analysis by purchasing a membership. I will include the purchase membership in the link here. We've got Boiler Room coming up in 10 minutes. There is the Jay's Analysis subscription, $4.95 a month, $60 a year. Or you can subscribe now at YouTube as well. There's no difference. It's all the same stuff. There's advantages, though, to subscribing with me. And I think that looks like all the super chats. Hopefully I didn't miss anybody. Thank you guys. Very fun. Very fun. Very fun. Glad we finally got to the Val stream. I think we covered everything I wanted to cover. Batman Forever, the Saints. Yeah, we hit all the big points. I think the next movie stream we're going to do is, Boiler Room will be up here in a little bit. Next movie stream, okay, I want to do little creatures like Gremlins, Gremlins 2, Ghoulies. We did a Ghoulies a long time ago, and that was fun. If you haven't heard the show that I did a long time ago with Jamie, B Movies with a Message, that was on one of my favorite podcasts. It was a lot of fun. Go listen to that one if you want to. But we need to do, I can't figure out how to do it, but we're going to do a Gremlins stream somehow, because there's some really weird stuff in Gremlins and Gremlins 2 as well. And there's going to be an Alien Demon Overlord movie analysis part 2. And that will be The Fourth Kind, It and It 2, God Told Me To, which is a 70s demon thing. And one more. There's one more alien demon movie that I've forgotten what it is. I got it all written down somewhere. Critters. I just watched Critters the other day for the first time all the way through. Last time I tried watching Critters and I fell asleep. I think Critters is part of it. Yeah, Critters. What am I missing for alien demon movies, though? So forget the Ghoulies, Critters, Gremlins for a moment. What am I missing for alien demon movies? Because there's not many movies that make aliens into demons, right? We did Childhood's End and all that last time. The Blob. The Blob is not really demons, but we'll say it is. Fourth Kind does with Mila. I haven't seen Critters 2. I might have to watch Critters 2. Howard defeats the alien overlords. Howard who? Howard the Duck? We could throw Howard the Duck in there. That's good. Alien Demon Overlords. Buckaroo Banzai kind of makes they're reptilians. It's like David Icke level stuff. The Cheetah Uri. I mean, Buckaroo Banzai could go in the Alien Demon list. But can you think of another movie? Ninth Gate? That's not demon. That's not. It's got to be aliens, not just demons. But where the aliens are demons. Slither, No, Ninth Gate is. We've talked about Ninth. That's in Esoteric Hollywood 2, by the way. And I've done a few interviews on Dark City. Yeah, they're kind of demonic. We definitely need to do Dark City, but Dark City would work better with some other films like Dark City as opposed to Alien Demons. Venom, that's a good one. Venom is an alien demon parasite. That's a good point. Venom is like a demon. They Live. Yeah, we could throw a They Live in there. Body Snatchers, yeah. I did do a They Live video a while back. It's had like, I don't know, 6,000 or 7,000 views. You could go watch my They Live analysis. But we could throw They Live in there. Legally Blonde. Species, nah, that's a crap movie. The Species say they're demons. I remember that. Natasha Henstridge, isn't it? But Venom, that could work. I forgot about Venom. Any other ideas? The Thing is a good one, yeah. The Midnight Meat Train. That sounds like a dirty movie, dude. That sounds like a Skinamax movie. Life Force. We did Life Force, though. See, I did on the Halloween stream, remember? And then, of course, Existence. Existence could work. That's like the Matrix, though. X-Files, yeah. Yeah, see, we did Life Force. I could have done Mars, Red Planet, because that's Val. But that movie's shitty, by the way. But Carrie-Anne Moss and Val, Red Planet. I thought the Halloween stream was really good, and the algorithm didn't like it for some reason, so it only has like 4,000 or 5,000 views. But it's Blade, which is great. I don't know how I missed the Blade trilogy, but I love it now. So the Blade trilogy, Monster Squad, Life Force, and something else. Go watch that stream if you like this, because that one was really good. It's got a lot of this stuff in it. Because guess what, by the way, the Blade trilogy it's totally Illuminate confirmed. Like I couldn't believe it. I was like, this goofy thing, is that Illuminate confirmed? But see, if the algorithm doesn't like your awesome ass stream, Lost Boys, that was it. So I'm gonna put it in. It had 5,000 views. I'm gonna put it in the chat because it was really good. I liked every one of those movies that I did. Here it is. Go watch this, by the way. Not right now. Boiler Room's coming up, but there is Lost Boys, Blade trilogy, not Blade trilogy, just Blade 1. Halloween, Life Force, and Monster Squad. That was a great Halloween stream. And I got 5,000 views out of that. Anyway. I still believe. That's got me singing. I sang the whole damn Sexy Sax Man song. And only 5,000 people saw that. That should have 1 million views. Demon Warp is an alien demon movie. Let me write that down. Demon Warp. That sounds like a good B movie. Demon Warp. Hellraiser. Yeah, we should probably do its own stream, right? I mean, Guyver with Mark Hamill. I've seen that. It's pretty bad. Phantasm. But see, Phantasm should have its own chunk of movies, you know? We did Blob on the Alien Demon show from 4 weeks ago. Go watch mine. Of course, we could do Life Force again. I could throw Life Force in again. Black Panther was the first black superhero, Moral Carks. Was he? The first black superhero? Blade. Blade was before. Has everybody... Yeah, I guess that's your point, right? Blade. Has everybody forgot? Wesley Snipes is badass, right? By the way, I heard they're doing a new Blade. There's talks for Wesley Snipes to come back as Blade. I'd go watch that. Blade was fun. All right. Boiler Room coming up. I'll be a little bit late, but there will be Boiler Room. So thank you guys. Always love the movie streams. I will always be doing movie streams no matter what. No matter what. There will always be movie streams. Even if I am banished to the four corners, I will do movie streams. The stuff. We did the stuff. If you didn't watch B Movies with a Message, go watch B Movies with a Message. It was on my first fun podcast Jamie and I did. We also did a voodoo movie podcast. So I will pull this up for you. Crazy B Movies with a Message. No, I don't want the video, not the Crazy B Movies with a Message. Jay's analysis. Yes. Here we go. So if you want to watch that installment, that was a lot of fun. It's right here. Here is that extra. That's one I should do. Let me add extra. Thank you for that comment. Why are they banning extra? It's nothing. It's not a censoring comment. It is a crazy alien possession movie. So I'll add that to the list there. Thank you guys. Next up is Boiler Room. Have a good night and look forward to the next Alien Demon stream.